estate creators, this is Shantanu.
And I'm Savannah, and welcome to our show where we give you all the tips and tools you need to take on real estate video marketing, and it will make you a pro. So, what are we talking about today?
Today we are going to be talking about how sales pitches are dead and personal message is the way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, last podcast we talked about how video marketing is really important to build trust with your clients, to scale, and the power of videos really in the video marketing world.
Yes.
And this time we want to talk about how you can get started now with your video marketing initiatives.
Why is it important for people to focus on a personal message over a sales pitch?
Yeah. So with sales pitches, it really sounds like a transaction. A lot of people, when they look at an ad where somebody's trying to sell you something, you always feel like they just want your money, and you really don't get to build that personal connection with your clients or the audience that you're trying to reach to. With any personal message, as human beings, we are, of course, like logical, but we are more emotional than logical. And if I'm thinking about selling a house or buying a property or any kind of work that I want to do in the real estate world, any action plan that I have has a logical mindset behind it. But more than that, there's also an emotional attachment to the properties that I have. And I want to really hear the personal message for people involved in that equation, and really want to trust that person and see if they can go really beyond transaction and become that best friend that I want to work with, that I can trust in this entire process.
That's
And
really
when you are, when you're really starting off initially, you may be a one-person team, a real estate agent who is, working with their clients and trying to help them achieve their goals. You're not really can go behind a brand. You are one person company. So it's really important for you to be more personable. It's really important for you to not give an impression that you really care about that one transaction, that commission that of course everybody knows about.
Sure.
But it's your opportunity to build that personal connection with that message. And if I look at even big companies like Apple, Nike, these companies in their marketing campaigns don't really talk about the consumer electronics product they sell. They talk about their personal mission, their personal motto. For Apple, it's always about empowering others. It's always about think different. And iPhones, iPods, all these other tools, MacBooks that they're working on are the solutions that they offer to students, to creators, to developers in order to achieve those goals. So you may be pitching to a young family, you may be pitching to someone who is a first-time home buyer, but you want to deliver your personal message to them in order to build that personal connection as compared to starting with a transaction. So not just you as a small business owner, but even big companies take that route. So that's why it's really important to start with your personal message.
That's so good because, when we look at Nike and they're like, just do it,
Yeah.
we as buyers, we don't think in terms of shoes or just
It's a commodity, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or just buying a house for the sake of buying our house. We want to feel like there's a purpose behind it.
There's a story behind it.
There's a story behind it. That's exactly it. Because they're imagining themselves cooking in that kitchen. They're imagining themselves and their family sitting in that living room. So that is so good to focus in on the personal message and making it a experience and why they want to inspire people versus it just being like a transaction and a sell, because that's not how the buyer thinks. So in order to tap into the way the buyer thinks, you have to develop your personal message to replicate that.
Exactly.
So when it comes to being personable, I think like something that's really good for realtors to keep in mind is that, like you were saying, if it's a family, be a realtor that's showcasing your family in that process. And if that's the kind of clientele that you're wanting to reach, because they're wanting to relate to you. I think at the end of the day, like our clients want to feel like they can look at you and relate. So if you're wanting to target families, show you and your family and why that's important to you and explaining that as a part of your personal message.
What if I am targeting luxury homes?
And if that's a great question, I think you should be showing, if you have a dog, you walking around that luxury neighborhood that you're wanting to target a clientele in. For us here in Atlanta, it's Buckhead. Buckhead is the luxury district. So getting footage of you walking around that area and talking about how you've lived there for a certain amount of time while you're passionate about that area. And so then when your clients are seeing you in that area, you're wearing a suit because you're targeting a luxury clientele. You want to look the part of the client that you are targeting because they want to be able to look at you and see themselves in you, because that's going to create like a stronger connection point when they're reaching out to you. So
That's an excellent point, yeah.
Thanks. And where would you say are some good places that people can set up this personal message?
Yeah. When I think about this personal message, I think a lot of people, or sales pitches, I think a lot of people think about like, standing in front of a camera and really memorizing the entire script and like want to make sure they hit all the points. I think that's good, but when you are thinking about this personal message, I think one of the most important things you can do when you're starting off with this personal message is being in your element, being personable. It's the most important thing. So if you're a real estate agent who loves cooking, then be in your kitchen. You don't need to be sitting on a desk. Start the message there when you're like baking something or cooking something. Talk about your personal story of how you started, where you grew up, how you know this neighborhood so well, and why you care about your clients. And if the personal message comes from a place where you feel the most comfortable, where you feel the most energized, where you feel in your element, that's the way to go.
That's excellent. And that's a perfect place to show you making some closing cookies while you're in the kitchen selling your personal brand.
Exactly. I know a lot of, real estate agents may feel excited when they are closing a deal and handing out that big key, as a reward, right, to their client. In those cases, you will feel that rush inside you, and of course, it's a great moment. And that's when you can record this personal message too. It doesn't have to be one personal message. The whole point about personal message is like share your message, and this message may evolve over time, and that's okay. But if in that moment you felt something different, then you should share that personal message. Just take your phone out and record that message and how you feel about this moment and how you want to keep replicating this moment, and your audience can sense that. So it's not just important to record a message, but it's also important to be in your element. And what are the place you like? Maybe you like woodwork, so go to that place, or whenever you are doing that work, and record your message. If you are in your office and that's where you feel the most energized, record that message in your office. Or if you like the kitchen, then do some cooking and record that message. But right. Your audience has to really feel that message is personable and coming from you from a very different space as compared to coming across as a sales pitch, or coming across as someone who's trying to close a deal and only looks at you as a transaction.
That's an excellent point. And I love that you talk about environments and putting yourself in an environment to record this personal message. Why is that more important than a studio? Just getting a sterile studio. Why is it such an important part of the personal message?
Again, there's nothing wrong with picking a studio to record your message. My thought process about personal message is that it needs to be personable. You have to have a certain energy when you're delivering that message, not just the message, but the whole environment. And that's when I think it's okay for the real estate agents to be creative with their environment and use that opportunity the way they're feeling and deliver that message and that energy through the recording of that video.
That's good.
If you can achieve that in a studio, good for you. But if you can, then use the other opportunities, the place where you feel in your element and want to speak with your audience intimately, personally through that message.
That's excellent. Because, one of our goals is to make it where your clients feel like they know you before they pick up the phone to call you, because then, like we talked about in our last video, that makes the conversation hot.
So absolutely.
Putting you in your natural environment, and that makes you feel more comfortable to film, then that's just going to make people feel like they already know you.
Absolutely. And that really brings to my next point. Like, I know, Savannah, you worked as a producer in the past. So what do you think are the key things that a real estate agent should cover? It doesn't have to be exactly the same template, but what do you think are the key elements of a personal message that you want to share with our audience?
That's excellent because story is so important to, and everybody has a story, and your brand should have a story that you want to hit. And so I think some key points that you want to make sure that you articulate in your personal message is first off, who you are. So people want to understand who you are as a realtor. And we've already kind of tapped into that a little bit with showcasing if you're a family person and where you live, what part of town you live in. And people want to understand like a little bit of a background, how long you've been a realtor and things like that. So telling people who you are is point number one. And then the second point is how you want to help your audience. So how do you want to offer your services to people? How do you want to help people? Are you focusing in the luxury world, or are you focusing in the suburbs? And what offerings are you going to bring to the table to help them? And then the last one is you want to give them a call to action, and you want to be able to provide why they should reach out to you. Why would you be the best realtor in town for them to reach out to you? Because there's lots of realtors. So you really want to give people a reason for why you would be the best person. And to answer those three questions is going to take some self-reflecting. You want to sit down, you want to write out some different bullet points because it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
But those are the three questions that you want to answer in your personal message, in my opinion. What do you think?
No, those are some really great points. I don't think anybody can go wrong with those points. Uh, when you were talking about these ideas, the last thing I want to add to this is, since you're talking about a personal message, I think from my previous experiences, I wish, like in my interviews, I can bring, the people who have said great things about me and really have the other person interviewing me, or have my audience really hear from the people who have
Yeah.
said great things about me. So if you're delivering that personal message, the things you covered, plus if you want to really end the video with like, hey, this video, these words coming from my client, coming from a personal experience that closest to me, so I also want to share these words with everybody. And
That's so
coming
true.
a testimonial from your client, is another way to deliver that message, because that is part of your brand. That's what, not just what you are saying about yourself, but how others perceive you.
Sure.
So I think that could be also a really powerful thing to do. And like I said, a personal message does not have to be just one video that you'll ever produce. It can evolve, it can change. Your personal message can keep evolving, keep getting better and better, and change and become more and more personable as you discover yourself, and as you discover this market, you discover your client base. You can
Certainly.
keep iterating on, keep honing on this personal message and make it more and more personable.
I think that's great because adding these people at the end of the video too, I want to circle back to that because that's your reputation, and what other people say about you is so important. So circling back and putting that in at the end of your video is a great idea. And then maybe making it like an annual thing, updating your personal message video on your Instagram. It's whatever feels really good to you. But I like that you said that it doesn't have to be a one-time message. Like you can update this on your Instagram and on your different channels periodically, and then keep that evolving over time.
Exactly.
So, well, I think we hit some really good, strong points
We
on
did.
why you should get away from a sales pitch, the sterileness of a sales pitch, and hone in on a personal brand. Is there anything else that you'd like to add in?
Really a question for our audience, like what everybody thinks about this, thought process that we talked about today, like sales pitch versus a personal message. We all have worked on sales pitches, sales elevator pitch, whatever you want to call it, 15-second, 30-second, 1 minute elevator pitch. It's very common thing to do when you go to a networking event. If you get stuck with someone in elevator, like what are the things that you will say in order to close a deal?
Yeah.
So those things are important, of course, but in real life, you do want to make sure that you spend time connecting with your audience, and over time you will get to expand that network. So I want to also hear from our audience, like what do they
Yeah.
think about this idea of delivering personal message, and I also want to hear the times when people have seen success with sales pitches. Of course, that's important. But maybe some of our audiences that are listening to us right now, may have also worked on a personal video, and I want to hear like what kind of different trends they were seeing. Did they see more engagement, more interaction with their personal message videos as compared to sales pitch?
That's an excellent question to ask. So we want you guys to go below, make those comments, and leave those questions in the comments below, because you just never know when you'll find your question in our next video and we'll answer it there.
Absolutely.
So we will see you guys next time, and
until then, take care.
bye guys.